Good afternoon, everybody. How are y'all?
Did you make sure and mention that the red light that isn't working is a four-way stop?
Yeah, I think I have that.
You're like, that's the cause of most of the accidents that we're dealing with. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah. I was talking with Michael Ford
Yeah.
the other day. Yeah.
How's he?
He's doing good. He's doing good. Oh yeah, he's smiling. I definitely will. Yeah, I'll see him this
Good
week.
man.
Yeah.
LG&E, Morgan McGarvey, and then probably boom, boom, boom. And then Sal. Well, he's got it all written down. He'll be Sal. Okay. Supposed to be prepared. Just kidding.
But they spoke very highly. They said you hit the ground right.
Okay.
Yeah, but they spoke very highly.
You guys all ready? We'll all join together here. All right, everybody ready? Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for joining us for a Sunday afternoon update. Just as a reminder to the entire community, we are continuing to deal with the aftermath of the storms that came through our area on Friday, which, as you heard from LG&E yesterday, was the third worst outage they've suffered in the last 20 years in the city. So this is a multi-day process that crews from our city government, working with our federal and state partners like LG&E, partners like Dare to Care that you'll hear from today, and others are working round the clock to help our community get back to where it was before the storm, to get back full strength. And really, I just want to start by saying thank you very much. Thank you to all of the hardworking men and women who are working around the clock, whether it's at LG&E, whether it's part of our public works team or another agency that is helping in this effort. Thank you. We are joined here today by some of the hardworking men and women that are part of the electrical maintenance crew with our public works department. A couple of them it's during a shift change right now. A couple of them have just gotten off their shifts, restoring traffic signals around the city. A few are going back out, and they are just representative of the thousands of people that are working around the entire city today to restore services in our city. So thank you very much. We have representatives here today from Public Works, from our emergency agencies, from JCPS, from Dare to Care, as well as federal officials here today. But first, we'll get to what I think is probably top of everyone's mind, and that is LG&E. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn Pratt with LG&E, who's going to provide us with an update. Lynn?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all of the responders who are part of this massive effort following Friday's storm. We want to thank our customers for your continued patience as our crews continue work around the clock to protect the public, assess and repair damages, and safely restore power to the communities we proudly serve across Kentucky. Through our mutual assistance partnerships, we've secured an additional 1,500 line technicians and support personnel from utilities from surrounding states. Yesterday and today, they're joining forces with our hundreds of employees and business partners and employees working behind the scenes in what is going to be a massive multi-day restoration event. As the mayor said, this is the third most significant weather event in 20 years in terms of total system impacts and the number of customers affected, ranking behind the 2009 ice storm and 2008 windstorm. Just to help summarize as well, this storm impacted 340,000 customers, down more than 2,500 power lines, and broke more than 230 utility poles. While our crews are working around the clock, we want to continue to remind the public to stay away from down lines. Safety is our priority. We cannot say that enough. Safety for our customers, safety for our community, and safety for our crews who are working in the field. Please always assume down lines could be energized and report them to us immediately. We have made significant progress with outages that can fluctuate based on additional damage still remaining from the March 3rd storm. Out of the 341,000 customers impacted, more than 200,000 customers across our service areas have been restored as of today. In our LG&E service area, 145,000 customers have been affected by this storm, and 72,000 customers' power has been restored. Again, numbers can continue to fluctuate, but there has been significant progress made in restoring customer service. We expect to make great progress in continuing to restore customers' power as our crews are transitioning to full restoration mode. Estimated restoration times, we know there are lots of questions around when will power be restored. Estimated restoration times are starting to become available for customers who remain without power, and more will continue to be added based on our crews' on-site assessment of system damage and the various degrees of difficulty of each repair the crews face. So each may be different depending on the circumstances. Each job is different and presents its own unique challenges for crews, which is why estimated restoration times can vary by customer. Our outage map, which you can access on our website and through our mobile app, is the best way to track our crew's restoration progress and stay informed of the latest estimated times of restoration. We've also, I mentioned we have hundreds of employees also working behind the scenes. We've handled more than 260,000 customer contacts, and more than 89% of those have been handled through automation, and this number will continue to grow. We have more than 40 crew centers across the state, and this is important because with those additional crews coming in, our hundreds of employees and business partners working out in the community, it allows us to strategically position and redirect resources to areas needed most. Other questions we've been getting is how we restore power. Service restoration takes place through a prioritization process that involves several different layers. While we work to restore customer service, we'll use our ability to reroute power when we can from our control center coupled with automating controls installed on our system. This limits the number of customers affected. That is done when we can. When there is damage in an area that may not be possible, we may need to make those repairs before power can be restored. As part of I mentioned our prioritization process. I'll walk through those steps So in addition to the work that we're doing, we will first restore critical services in our community. This includes hospitals, fire and police stations, airports, and nursing homes. Next, we'll restore power safely to as many customers as we can. Then we repair any damaged equipment. Whenever possible, we'll make temporary repairs to restore power quickly and allow time for longer repairs to take place. Crews would come back at a later date. Then for customers still without power, it may be on their individual service line. This may be the line that provides power to their home or business. So for customers who are still without power, crews then make repairs to those individual power lines and service lines that feed directly to their home or business. Again, we can't stress safety enough. This is our top priority. If you see a downed wire, stay away from anything that may be in contact with the downed wire, and keep others away. Report down wires immediately to us by calling 502-589-1444. Again, we understand the significant impact it causes to customers who are without power, and we are working around the clock. This is what we're referring to as an all hands on deck approach to get power restored to all of our affected customers. We thank you. We thank responders. We thank you. We thank our customers and our community for weathering this storm with us. And please rest assured, it is an all hands on deck effort, and we will continue working around the clock for our customers and the communities we serve. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks to you and everyone at LG&E. I know many of your colleagues are currently working 16-hour shifts on, 8 hours off, and back at it just to continue to restore the service. So thank you all very much. As you all may recall, on Friday evening, I declared, following the governor's declaration of a state of emergency, I did the same for Louisville Jefferson County so that we could potentially access federal funding and other federal and state resources to assist us with the cleanup throughout the entire city. One of those partners in that effort is our Congressman, Morgan McGarvey, and he's with us here today. So next we're going to be joined by Congressman McGarvey.
Thank you to Mayor Greenberg, his team. Thank you to LG&E. Thank you for all the hard men and women who are doing the work out there. Look, as one of the thousands of Louisvillians right now without power, it's okay to be frustrated. But just because you don't see the truck on your street right this minute doesn't mean people are not out working. The crews are out working around the clock to get power back to as many people as possible. So even though I might smell like we haven't had power in 48 hours, I get the frustration, but please know the city, the state, LG&E are working around the clock. I echo the comments from LG&E to stay safe. Please stay safe. Yesterday, we were out meeting with people, looking at damage, surveying, seeing what's going on. There were down lines near where I live at Dundee and Trevilian, and the sparks were so bright. It was in between the Murphys and the Fox's house. They said you almost needed sunglasses inside. It got so hot. It got so hot from the down power line that it literally turned some of the sand and gravel into glass on the street. Please stay safe out there. Please know that we are doing everything we can to restore power as quickly as possible, and you have amazing people doing amazing work. I also stress that as bad as things might seem right now for those without power, we're a little bit lucky. There was no one in the Louisville area who was killed by this storm. There have been some people who were injured. There was a firefighter who broke his back last night, and obviously we want people to be safe. We are frustrated as well. We did dodge a bullet in terms of casualties and in terms of overall injuries. So we're working, and then once we get power back on, we continue to assess the damage. As Mayor Greenberg said, the state of emergency from the city, from the state will trigger a federal response in which we will be working to bring as much money back here as quickly as possible to make sure we make our community whole again. So I look forward to being a part of that effort, and really and truly stay safe. And I'm so appreciative of the work that our city crews and that the LG&E crews are doing 24 hours a day to get Louisville back on track as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Congressman Garvey. In terms of some of the city's response with respect to public works, a few updates. We are now down to a single-digit number of roads that are still blocked because of tree or other debris in the road, and the only reason for those is because they're interconnected with wires, and so we're collaborating with LG&E in partnership to clear those few remaining blocked roads as soon as possible. We are also working on, tomorrow we will start working on alleyways that may still be blocked as our public works folks get back out. As I mentioned earlier, we're here at the electrical maintenance crew headquarters for Public Works. One of the things that they have been working on is restoring traffic signals throughout the city. A reminder to everyone, if traffic signals are out and they're either just completely out or blinking red lights, please treat them as a four-way stop. We have had accidents on the street as a result of people not knowing how to handle that, so I encourage everyone to use caution when approaching an intersection where the traffic signals are out, and please treat them as a four-way stop. We know that there is a lot of debris in folks' yards around the entire community. And so we have taken some actions that we want to announce right now with respect to the cleanup effort in that. First, we are opening up 7 locations around the entire city where people will be able to bring their yard debris starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It will be open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 7 locations around the entire city. One of the locations will be located in Shawnee Park, and we'll provide all of this also with a graphic and specific information. So first, Shawnee Park. Second, the Public Works Yard at 10,500 Lower River Road. 3, there's a location right near Fairdale Elementary School at 10618 West Manslick Road. The 4th location is at Fern Creek Park. The 5th location is at Smith Creek Compost Facility on Aiken Road. The 6th location is at the Public Works Yard on Hubbard's Lane. And the 7th is the Waste Reduction Center located at 636 Meriwether Avenue. So again, we will get all of that information out with specific details of the addresses, a map that shows those 7 spread around throughout the entire city. So if anyone has debris that they would like to take, they can bring that starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Also, we have decided to accelerate the time at which we start our yard waste collection by Public Works within the Urban Service District. So for those who live within the Urban Service District, yard waste collection will resume tomorrow morning. And so people can put their yard waste at the curb if they are in the Urban Service District. So to provide a little bit more information on some of the things that Public Works is doing, we're joined by Sal Melendez from Public Works. Sal?
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. So as it's been stated already, our crews, our Public Works crews, have been working around the clock to make sure that everything is restored to a sense of normal operation. So our roads division has been able to clear debris from public roads, with the exception, as like the mayor said, of a few roads that are involved, or a few locales that are involved with power lines. So as soon as those are cleared, our crews will go to those and make sure that they are cleared for passage. Starting tomorrow, our roads crews will begin collecting that storm debris that has been pushed to the side of the road to make sure that our public roadways, the public right-of-way, is clear. As far as the locations that the mayor mentioned, they will be open from 7 a.m. from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So as long as it's necessary. And like you said, we're here at the electrical maintenance shop, and some of what also they've been working around the clock, and some of what they've been doing is the following, some of the information about them. As we work around the clock, we have 30 personnel and their support staff to make sure that traffic signals return to normal operation. And what takes place in those situations is that unless they are, as power is returned to them, they'll go into a flashing mode, and that will trigger a response for our crews to go there and restore them to normal operation. Anything that requires more in-depth repair of a given traffic signal will be documented, and crews will go back to make sure that there is a permanent fix to those. We are responsible for 1,000 traffic signaling devices in the metro. So we have our hands full. We have crew today we have 5 crews of 2-person teams, making sure that those intersections, those devices are restored to normal. And to reiterate the mayor's message, that treat those as a 4-way stop. You know, come to a complete stop. If it's clear to pass, then pass it, following what we remember as our driving school lessons. And now I'll move on to the guidelines on yard waste and storm debris. So you can, tree debris have to be separated from bulky waste. What I mean by that is anything that the storm may have blown into your yard, or like a portion of a fence or a shed, that is not part of a tree debris. So make sure that you separate those from trees and yard waste, so that the process to process, is expedited. That's to make sure that, we're moving fast. Our crews, as this is processed, we are moving fast at those locations, and we are able to take more content and process it, and it gets to the correct destination without any additional delays. So again, working around the clock. Hazardous materials like paint, gases, or any chemicals are not accepted at these sites. And again, there will be open to the hours will be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So visit the website, visit Louisville KY website, and you'll find all the information, all the maps of all the locations, and any additional information that you would require. Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. Next, I'm going to call on Deputy Mayor for Emergency Services, David James, who's going to talk a little bit about what to do if people still aren't sure of who to call in terms of 311, 911, and what services we're providing in that regard.
Thank you, Mayor Greenberg. Hello, everybody. Just want to remind folks that 911 is for life-threatening emergencies. If you're calling about storm debris, or wire down and things like that, you want to let Metro government know about it, use 311. We normally don't have 311 open on the weekends, but 311 is open this weekend. We took in 600 calls yesterday. We've taken in about 130 calls today. So please continue to make those phone calls so everybody knows what's going on. It helps all the people behind me understand the total picture that we're dealing with. And I just want to thank everybody at Metro Safe for all the work they've been doing. Took over 5,000 calls on Friday night, and they've still been going at it, and they've been doing a great job. Everybody has been doing a great job, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor James. Just like every organization in this entire city, Jefferson County Public Schools has also been working around the clock to deal with the aftermath of the storms on Friday. And we're joined here today by Carolyn Callahan, the Chief of Communications with JCPS. Carolyn?
Good afternoon, everyone. We have had more than 200 employees who have been working hard throughout this weekend. They have been going into all of our buildings. That's more than 160 buildings that we have throughout Jefferson County Public Schools. So we have had our housekeeping teams, our electrical renovations and roofing departments, plumbing and HVAC departments, and our grounds departments have been working throughout the weekend to see what damage that we have at our buildings and to also work with LG&E. Thank you to LG&E, who has been phenomenal in helping us get many of our schools back online. These numbers are constantly changing. As I drove over here today, I got a text message that 3 more schools had power again. That's how quickly this is happening. So right now, we have 21 schools without power or with partial power. That is down from 40 or so that we had at another time this weekend. 44 of our school campuses have trees or large limbs that are down. 1 school has broken windows that have been boarded up. We do have power lines down or on or near 3 of our school campuses. And 2 schools do have some flooding in 1 room in each of those schools. We are extremely thankful and grateful that that flooding damage and the damage in general is not even worse than it could be. Right now, we have nothing extremely significant in the flooding department. Again, that is one room in 2 different buildings that have sustained some flooding, and our crews are already there working on that now. To give you an idea of some of the damage that we're seeing, at Maupin, there is a partial fence down. Slaughter has a light pole down by the playground. Jeffersontown Elementary School has some siding off the building. That is something that we've seen. Shingles blow off roofs. We see siding come off buildings. We also have 25 schools right now that do not have internet access. So our teams are, of course, working on that as well. If we are unable to have school tomorrow, we will let families and the community know as soon as we have that answer. We send out that information through social media, through text messages and emails, and we will let families know as soon as we know what's going on. Again, this is a very fluid situation. As I said, just driving over here, we were getting more schools online. So we are at about 21 schools right now without power or with partial power. We are working through that, and we will let you know as soon as we have a decision on whether or not we can safely have school tomorrow. That is, of course, our #1 priority. If we cannot safely have school tomorrow, we will not. If we can get everything back online and make sure that there is no severe damage and nothing that would be a safety issue to our more than 96,000 students and 17,000 staff members, then we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolyn, for everything that you and everyone at JCPS are doing. It's one of the heartening things when you go through challenges like this is to see other organizations around the community that are stepping up to help those who are most in need. And one of those amazingly strong partners of ours is Dare to Care. We're joined today by Vincent James, who's the CEO of Dare to Care, that's going to talk a little bit about their outreach efforts to those who are challenged by the loss of electricity. Vincent?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all the men and women who are working diligently to help all of us to be able to return to some sense of normalcy. And at Dare to Care, we recognize those who have experienced these power outages across our community. One of the things we wanted to ensure that we are able to meet our neighbors that are hit in those hardest areas the most, who have the longest term in terms of not having power, and also who have the less resources that they have to go and replenish the food that they have. One of the things that we're providing, Dare to Care, we're working hard to be able to resolve a lot of the issues that we're seeing in our community as it relates to lack of food. And so our first response is to ensure, again, those areas that are hardest hit. And we're going to disperse our mobile pantry, which will be going to 3 locations on tomorrow. This information is also, you can find it on our website at daretocare.org. From 10 to 12 a.m., we're going to be at the Catholic Enrichment Center at 3146 West Broadway. From 1 to 3, we'll be at the Newburgh Community Center at 4810 at Baxter Avenue. And then we will be at the St. Stephen's Baptist Church from 5 to 7. That's located at 1015 South 18th Street. We will be in the parking lot directly across from the church. And on Tuesday, March the 7th, Dare to Care will be fortifying 2 current sites that we have scheduled already. That is from 10 to 11:30. We'll be at the Partland PAC, 2500 Partland Avenue. And then from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m., we will be at the Holy Name Catholic Church at 2933 4th Street. And Dare to Care, we are truly committed to supporting our neighbors who are in need during this critical time. And we also have experienced some disruptions ourselves at our 28th and Virginia site that we have had power outages there. So it's disrupted some of the service that we're going to be able to provide. But the good news is that we came back online this morning, so we're going to be able to disperse food as well. And so I want you to be able to follow Dare to Care on social media to get any kind of updates as it relates to food. And we're working with our partners in Metro Council. We're working with our partners in Louisville City government to ensure that we are getting the food to the folks who are in need. So make sure that you are checking our website connecting with folks that we can ensure that you're getting the food that you need and have access to it. And so if you're looking for ways to help, you also can help in multiple ways. You can help by volunteering, or you can help by donating. You can donate resources as it relates to dollars, because one of the things is that for every dollar that is donated, we're able to provide 6 meals for families in our community. And so it's much more efficient to be able to manage the dollar and getting more healthy and food for our neighbors. And also we want to make sure that if you want to volunteer, you can volunteer. You can go online and register at volunteer@daretocare.org. So we need your help. We need your support. The great thing about our community is whenever we face a challenge, we step up. And one of the things I want to encourage and challenge you as well is that this is the time that you can look out for your neighbor. Simply call someone to see how they're doing. One of the things Dare to Care started in 1969 as a tragic result of Bobby Ellis dying of malnutrition on Thanksgiving Eve. And I talked with his sister last year, and I was just checking in with her, and she said, you know, if somebody would have checked in with my family some 50 plus years ago, my brother would have never died. And so I'm just challenging you and encouraging you to just check on your neighbor. It's definitely time to be my brothers and sisters' keeper. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vincent, for everything that you and your entire team at Dare to Care does around all year long, and particularly in challenging times like this. And finally today, speaking of helping others and being safe, we're joined by Major Cooper from the Louisville Fire Department that's going to talk about a few safety tips in terms of what to do both with in your yard and also as power begins to come back on for those that don't have it. Major Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. What events like this demonstrate is that public safety is the priority of all Metro government, not just emergency services. So what we want to do now is educate you on how to stay safe and how to remain safe. And the first thing is to understand the significance of the event and the magnitude that's occurred of the event, and that you still need to remain safe. There's still a lot of hazards out there. So 3 things that I'll tell you are fire safety, carbon monoxide safety, and then injury prevention. So first, let's start with fire safety. So to reduce the risk of injuries following things like this where there's power outages, make sure that your oven, that your stove, especially if they're electric, that they're turned off. And any other kind of kitchen appliances or small appliances that you may have, making sure that they're turned off and that they're unplugged to prevent any fires that may occur once electric is restored. Also understand that your smoke alarms, a lot of people have hardwired smoke alarms now and carbon monoxide detectors. Those aren't working right now unless you have a battery backup. So if you have those hardwired smoke alarms, make sure that you get some battery-powered smoke alarms to place inside your homes. For lighting, don't use candles. Use flashlights. Go buy some batteries and buy some flashlights. Home Depots, Lowe's, Kroger's, any kind of store will have plenty of flashlights for you. And then, of course, alternative heating. It's warming up, but still the evenings get cool. So making sure that if you're using that fireplace or something else, that you're prepared to operate it properly and that it's been inspected and there's going to be no hazards there. Take the opportunity to practice your escape plan from a fire as well. If you're without power, you're looking for something to do with your kids, practice that escape plan and know how you're going to do it in the dark or with limited lighting as well. Again, remember things like a place to meet and making sure that you get your kids out as quick as possible. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning is one of the leading causes of death following a natural disaster, and that's what we've clearly had here is a natural disaster. So if you have a carbon monoxide detector in your house, again, remember, it needs to be battery operated right now. Generators, a lot of you are going to be using generators, so we reiterate this all the time, but if you're using that generator, make sure that it's 20 feet away from your home, that you have your doors and your windows closed, also making sure that the exhaust fumes are directed away from the home so that you're not bringing that carbon monoxide into the house. Propane and charcoal barbecues, we often see people who will bring those into the home to cook on or to keep warm. Do not do that. It emits a tremendous amount of carbon monoxide. It builds up very quickly, so make sure that you're using those outside with your generators or any kind of propane heaters, things like that. If you're going to refuel it, making sure that you're letting it cool down, the generator or the heater, let it cool down, and then refuel it. Also making sure that you're using a proper way to store that fuel and that you're storing the fuel outside of your home. And lastly, injury prevention. So look, we've got a lot of down power lines. We've also got a lot of tree limbs that are down. We have damage to homes, gutters, things like that. Ladders are one of the most dangerous tools in the world. also chainsaws. So what you have is you have high-risk tools and low frequency of use, and that's a recipe for disaster and injury. So making sure that you're being patient, that you're using cautious actions when you are using those ladders, making sure that you have a spotter, somebody out there with you. If you're going to be out doing this kind of work, it's dangerous. So making sure that you're talking to your family, that you're letting a spouse, that you're letting your children, or if you live alone, that you're calling somebody saying, hey, I'm going outside to do some work. If you don't hear from me in a couple hours, check on me. So making sure that we're checking on each other, which then I want to make sure that I echo what Vincent just said, checking on each other. So making sure that those that are without power, that you're checking on them. This message that we're sharing right now, if you don't have power, then more than likely you're not watching TV. You might have some internet access from your phones, things like that. You may not be able to listen to the radio. So if you have power and you're hearing this message, making sure that you're sharing that message with those that do not. And again, just looking out for your neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Cooper. And just one other update is the thing to notify folks on is we know that there is a lot of debris out there. Burning debris in your yard is not legal in Louisville. It's also not safe. Last night we believe that, or yesterday we believed that we had a house fire that was caused likely as a result of someone burning debris in their yard. A firefighter, as Congressman McGarvey mentioned earlier, was injured in battling that blaze, and that is not the safe approach. Do not burn debris in your yard. If you have debris and you live within the urban service district, please leave it out for Public Works to pick up. If you live outside the urban service district or even inside the urban, anywhere, you can bring it to one of the 7 debris drop-off locations that we announced earlier today. And so please, if your neighbors have debris in their yard, and as has been said several times today, they are not able to clear, lend a helping hand. When you check in on others, lend a helping hand with what they need. Help them with debris. If they're in need of food, help them. If you have the ability to share some of your food with them. If someone is without power and doesn't want to be by themselves, if you have an extra bed or a couch in your house, please invite your neighbors in, your friends and family in to help others who are still in need. Before we take questions, just very briefly, Sal is going to come back up and provide a few of the key points from this conversation in Spanish for those of our neighbors who are Spanish speaking. Sal?
Thank you, Mayor. This will take about two and a half minutes. Try to recap what everyone addressed today. Esta conferencia de prensa es en referencia a la respuesta de los servicios públicos y de seguridad de parte de la ciudad y de la oficina del alcalde Greenberg. Empezando con la compañía de energía LG&E, ellos urgen paciencia, que quieren que entiendan de que sus grupos de trabajo están trabajando alrededor del reloj las 24 horas para asegurarse de que los servicios sean restaurados a estado normal, así que tengan paciencia y estén con cuidado. En lo que se refiere a las escuelas, el sistema escolar, a JCPS, pongan atención a los medios de comunicación, a las noticias, hoy a las 7 de la noche, porque ellos tendrán una conferencia de prensa anunciando cuál va a ser la decisión para la semana que viene, para el día de mañana, si habrán clases el día de mañana. En lo que se refiere de parte de la oficina, de la Agencia de Servicios de Emergencia de la ciudad, EAME, sobre el uso de 311, tratar de recordarle a las personas de que el servicio de 311 es simplemente para servicios públicos y no son para servicios de emergencia. Así que mantengan el número 911, 911 abierto para cuando solamente sea una emergencia. En lo que se refiere, debido a la pérdida de energía eléctrica, yo sé de que en muchos casos la comida en los refrigeradores se ha arruinado, así de que hay una agencia local que se llama Dare to Care, y ellos tienen un sitio de web en el cual usted puede informarse, donde habrán zonas de dispensa de comida gratis para poder tratar de restaurar su abastecimiento de alimentos. Y ese sitio de web es daretocare.org, daretocare.org. Y en lo que se refiere a la seguridad de parte del Departamento de Bomberos, debido a la pérdida de energía eléctrica también, se pueden dar diferentes situaciones que pueden llegar a causar un incendio. Así de que lo primero que ellos recomiendan es de que usted tenga un plan de escape para su familia, para saber cómo escapar de su residencia si en caso que llegara a tener un incendio. Debido a la pérdida de energía eléctrica también es muy común el uso de generadores. También en ese momento se les recomienda que el uso de generadores es obviamente para uso temporal y que mantengan esas unidades de trabajo afuera de su residencia, que no las traigan adentro de la casa, ya que el monóxido de carbono puede causar, tiene efectos letales. Así que tenga cuidado y al mismo tiempo en lo que usted empieza a demover los escombros de su residencia, pues tenga cuidado con el uso de escaleras y motosierras para tratar de no sostener ningún tipo de lesión. En lo que se refiere al Departamento de Obras Públicas, quiero que ustedes traten estén al tanto de que nuestras unidades de trabajo, como todas las unidades, están trabajando las 24 horas del día para asegurarse de que las carreteras estén en buena condición, puedan ser pasables, puedan ser navegables y que las señales de tráfico puedan ser restauradas a servicio normal, a horario normal. También el sistema de recolección de escombros debido a la tormenta, tenemos varios locales en los que usted puede deshacerse de esos escombros, pero también tener al tanto de que no puede de separar los materiales grandes con lo que tiene que ver con árboles o cualquier otra cosa relacionada con los biproductos de las tormentas. Así de que visite la página de web de la ciudad, que es louisvilleky.gov, para recibir más información acerca de todo esto que se ha hablado el día de hoy. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Sal. And again, a giant thanks to all of the hardworking men and women here with us today at Public Works, across all of Louisville Metro government, LG&E, JCPS, and all of our partner organizations like Dare to Care and others that are doing so much to help our community, particularly in challenging times like today. We are now happy to take a few questions from the media. Tara?
If the citizen's tree falls on a power line, does the power line have to be removed before the tree can be taken down, or does the tree have to be taken down before the power line can be removed?
Yeah, Lynn.
So that would be part of the damage assessment that's done. So it would be isolated. So safety is the priority, but that would be part of the assessment that would be done. So in addition to line technicians who are working out in the field, we also have crews that are part of vegetation management, for instance. So.
Could, a question for LG&E as well. Could people still be out of power a week from now?
So this is a multi-day restoration event. At this time, as I shared today, these numbers are changing quickly. We are in the restoration phase now. And as I mentioned, as it relates to an estimated time of restoration, it's also dependent upon the circumstances. So as I mentioned, the restoration prioritization process for customers where there is a damage that has occurred, I don't want to give a flat answer because it is going to be dependent upon the circumstances as we get down to the power restoration process. So we will move through that prioritization process and restore as many customers as we can safely and as quickly as possible. And then we move down into the individual customers who may have been impacted.
So people go to the LG&E website, they can go by zip code, they can go by county, whatever they want to zoom in. If they, let's say they go by zip code, it says 4,200 people. Below that is then saying that there's no estimate for restoration. It will now start saying.
Yes. So going back to our estimated times of restoration. So these damage assessments are being done. We have our restoration processes underway. So these are now becoming available. So more information is starting to appear on our outage map. The best way to continue to track progress, you can access our map online at lge-ku.com/storm or through our mobile app. So customers will start seeing more information becoming available on our online outage map. And I will say an estimated time of restoration could appear, and it is dependent upon also what crews are seeing in the field. So that information may change depending on as a crew gets out to a location, there's something that's different.
Talk about the weather. It's really been on your side for the last couple of days. You couldn't have asked for better weather. It is supposed to dip in the next couple of days, where it's going to get pretty cold at night. Any comments on how it definitely has been assisting you guys?
Well, on Friday, unfortunately, I mean, the historic event that moved through, the damage that it caused. So, you know, just going back, 341,000 customers affected, more than 2,500 power lines downed, 230 utility poles broken. So this is a significant impact on our system to make those repairs, to get power restored. It is good that the weather has been mild. Our crews, you know, they work in these elements. They work year round. So they are continually working. As the mayor mentioned, we will continue working around the clock. Crews are working in 16-hour shifts, but they work in these elements. So we will continue working around the clock. Our employees behind the scenes will continue working, so until we get power restored to all affected customers. Yeah, so through our mutual assistance partnerships, we've secured an additional 1,500 line technicians and support personnel from utilities from surrounding states. So these are part of our mutual assistance partnerships. So these are utilities that are part of organizations that come together in times of need following severe weather. You may recall in the past, we have sent crews to assist in other parts of the country when they've been damaged by hurricanes or tornadoes or other events. We have crews here now as part of that mutual assistance who are helping us here. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yes. So we have, this morning, we had some media out at Kentucky Expo Center out at Broadbent Arena. So we have, as I mentioned, these crews that came in yesterday, today. The crews are continuing to come in. They're coming to staging locations, as the mayor mentioned. So Kentucky Expo Center, we have another similar facility in Lexington. So as these crews come in, they participate in safety briefing. Safety is our priority. They then receive resources, poles, storm kits, resources that they need. So that way, you know, as they pick up those resources, they're then joining our hundreds of employees and business partners out in our communities as part of that restoration process. I don't have that number offhand. We're glad to check into that for you. I will just kind of reiterate again, of our 341,000 customers affected to date, right now, these numbers are continually changing. More than 200,000 customers have been restored. Here in our LG&E service territory, we had about 145,000 customers impacted, and power has been restored to about 72,000 customers. So, nope, you're fine. Thank you.
While we're still in this weather event, this is kind of the first major event. What lessons have you learned as mayor for future events should they happen?
Well, first, I want to say thanks to a lot of the folks from Public Works and from the other metro agencies that have been doing this for a long time. And there is a lot of amazingly talented people, hardworking people that at a moment's notice are dropping their lives to serve our entire community. And so their efforts and all of the operating procedures that we have in place as a government have been deployed. And so I'm pleased, of course, like everyone else. I want everyone's power to be restored immediately. I want every tree off the road. I want schools open tomorrow. We want this to happen, and so we are focused on safety, but also continuing to work hard. In terms of lessons learned, we just continue to, whatever we can think of, to be proactive, reaching out to partners like Dare to Care and others about what we can do. As we hear about needs in our community, we are quickly jumping on them. We are having 2 large team calls every day where all agencies participate. Everyone shares information about what is going on out throughout the entire city, as well as what their teammates are doing to address the challenges that are still out there in the community. And we're just continuing to take the challenges that are still out there and determining what resources we can deploy to help people who are still in need.
And thankfully, there have been no deaths from this area. Have there been any reports of injuries?
Not to my knowledge. Do you other than the firefighter who I mentioned earlier, to my knowledge, there have not been any injuries in Louisville. Yeah. So to clarify, Public Works is focusing on the roadways that are, the roads. The alleys, when Public Works tomorrow starts resuming trash collection and debris collection, they will be going through all of the alleyways that they are on their regular routes. So as they do that, they will identify either reports have already been called in to 311, and so we can address those and we're aware of them, or if there are alleyways that are not that are blocked that we're not aware of, as Public Works starts their routes, we will realize of obstruction, and we will immediately send a crew to address that. I mean, that's a great example to the previous question. I was notified of that about 3 hours by someone in the community who texted me and happens to know me. I immediately reached out to my colleagues at our emergency management agency. They were put in touch with both Lynn and another Brian from LG&E, and immediately crews were sent out there. So as soon as we're made aware of things like that, we're working very collaboratively to address situations. So our understanding is that crews have been resent out into that area. This was about 2 hours ago, and hopefully power is back on. I'm not sure yet, but we are aware of that and have sent people out there.
I can't speculate on that. I can only continue to encourage. We will continue to keep the community and our customers informed. We'll continue providing updates on our online outage map. So we will continue to keep those updates available, but I can't speculate on that. So that's a great question. So again, as part of that restoration process, and this impacted both of our service territories, LG&E and Kentucky Utilities. So that is part of that progress that's being made as we're able to, because these are unique circumstances in each outage event. So as power is being restored, as I mentioned that we have 40 cruise centers across the state, why that is so important is because that gives us that flexibility to move crews to areas as needed. So our crews are continuing to work around the clock, and they will be adjusted to meet the needs to get power restored. I do not know offhand. The information is continuing to be updated. I do not have a percentage right now, but it is continuing to update as more information becomes available. And so customers will start seeing more information available on the outage map as it relates to estimated times of restoration.
All right, I was going to say, everyone's got to get back to working. Yes, one more question, ma'am.
Can you specifically speak on any obstacles crews are encountering that may take
So I think a lot of the agencies here today spoke to different obstacles that they're facing out in the community. Damage, downed vegetation, downed trees, inaccessible roadways. For our crews, I mentioned we are responding to more than, 2,500 downed lines and 230 broken poles. So these are the same, the crews are working outdoors in the elements, so a lot of these same sort of experiences that they're having are what others have spoken to, and I will just say safety is our priority, and that includes the safety of our crews. Thank you. Mine? Liz Pratt, Lizpratt. Media Relations Manager for LG&E and Kentucky Utilities.
Thank you all very much. We'll continue to keep you all updated either through social media, through releases, or through other gatherings if we need to. Thank you all very much.